this podcast, I've been featuring various expert speakers on a variety of topics that they're going to be covering at the Get More Clients from Your Content Summit. Topics ranging from creating content that sells, growing an audience, and then leading that audience to buy from you. And if you want free tickets to the Get More Clients from Your Content Summit, then grab them right now at capshow.com/summit. Today, you are in for a treat. I am beyond excited because we've got the one and only Adam Schaeuble talking to us about his podcast first marketing framework. If you've been wondering how to turn your podcast into a client generating machine, then you're in the right place. Okay, Adam is going to be sharing his secrets, like why making your podcast the heart of your business compels clients to come to you, how to position yourself as the expert with his 2/3 rule, and the one small tweak that you can make with your podcast to turn listeners into paying clients faster than ever. Boy, oh boy, we are going to be getting into some absolute gold in this episode. My name is Deidre Shen, CEO and co-founder of Capshow, the fastest way to create content designed to get you more leads, and this is Win the Content Game. Adam Schaeuble, welcome. Big welcome. Hugs, in fact, virtual hugs. Welcome to the Get More Clients from Your Content Summit. This is the first summit that you have been on with us, and I can't wait I already know that it's going to be so good that you're going to be on like every other summit after this.
Well, I don't want to be on, every summit, not every other. I don't even want there to be a break. I don't want to be on every other one.
Yeah, no. Every summit, every
single summit.
Yes.
I'm excited.
We've written it in blood. It's done. It's a done deal.
It's a pact.
Awesome. Okay, cool. So I already know this because we were talking before about the topic that you're going to be talking about. And this is so valuable for everyone who knows that A, they need to create content, and B, that they need more clients because, we're running a business. We all do. And you have a really, really amazing way of connecting the two, of actually going, okay, well, how do we actually go content to clients, right? And you actually call this framework, correct me if I'm wrong, the podcast first marketing.
Yes.
Framework.
Yeah. So with podcast first marketing, that's a framework that I created, not on purpose. As I figured things out, I started podcasting back in 2015 with the goal of building an online business at that time in the fitness industry. And I did everything wrong, but I reverse engineered every single thing I did wrong to figure out how to do it the correct way. And that's what I figured out was I'm not good at online marketing, traditional online marketing. I'm not good at paid ad strategies, but I am good at podcasting. I love podcasting. I don't, I will spend time on social media if it's done in the right way. But I just wanted to live in a world where I'm like, what if I could just send people to my show first, let that magic kind of happen, and then clients come out the other side. So I was obsessed with that for 5 years. And that's the system that I built. And that's what we're going to unpack today on. If other people are out there, I would love to just really focus on my podcast content and have clients pop out the other side of the oven, then this is going to be your jam.
This is it. And it actually reminds me, I am a big believer in, I love podcasts as well. The big reason why is because it creates so much know, like, and trust. And I always talk about, the book Oversubscribed by Daniel Priestley, and how he talks about the 7-hour rule, that people have to kind of hang out with you, which includes listening to you for at least 7 hours before they are like, let me give you my money. Right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of why I love podcasting. So I think that, Adam, you've cracked it. I feel like you've really cracked the nut of, as you said, the testing and learning and tweaking and really going, okay, how can we actually make this medium that we know conceptually is the thing that will create that know, like, and trust? How do we actually effectively use this medium to get, as you said, clients at the end of it? I am so excited to jump into it. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Should we do it? Okay, cool.
Let's dance.
Let's do it. All right. Okay. So let's get into podcast first marketing. A little bit about it, but let's get into, I just really want to get into the strategy. So take it away, please.
Well, I think it all starts with what I call the 2/3 content rule. This is where I really take a hard left from the traditional podcast industry. So many people start a podcast and they just assume, oh, Joe Rogan experience. I sit and I have 3-hour-long conversations with other people. Hopefully they're famous people. That's the way to grow a podcast. And I'm the guy up there going, if you're a service provider and your main goal is to get clients, the interview is the least important form of content that you could create. And people just lose their mind on social media when I post stuff like that. They're like, what? My mind has actually blown. So my reasoning behind this is I see so many service providers that come to me and they go, I'm not getting any clients for my podcast. Why? Oh, why? And I go, let me guess. You only do interviews. Yeah, that's my podcast. I go, okay. If you only do interviews, you're viewed as the person that interviews experts. You're not viewed as the expert. And that's a problem when it comes to sales. Deirdre just said, I got to spend 7 hours getting to know you. They don't get to know you if you only do interviews. You're just the person up there asking questions. So 2/3 of our content, the 2/3 content rule, needs to feature you as the expert, AKA solo episodes, what I call coaching style episodes, audience Q&A episodes. You need to be the featured expert on your own show for 2/3 of your content. And I have people flip this switch, sometimes begrudgingly, and I convince them to do it. And all of a sudden they start seeing client conversion, listener to client conversion happen. So really, if you don't take anything else away and don't do anything else that I say, if you just do this, good things are going to happen. So that's where we start with podcast first marketing.
And I know we're going to get into this because immediately what comes to mind is like, but I just don't think I'm interesting enough. People want to listen to me, or I don't know if the episodes I'm going to create are going to be good enough, or I don't have an endless amount of ideas. So let's get into that. Like, how do we actually, come up with the ideas that make sense, but also not lose ourselves in the doubt and the discomfort that might come with like, oh gosh, like people are going to have to listen to me. That's uncomfortable.
Yeah. Well, first off, I would like to acknowledge that this is very normal and typical to have that kind of doubt and those thoughts in our head. But here's the deal. I'll refer to your audience as pod pals because that's what I'm talking to, the pod pals out there. So to all my pod pals out there that are a little nervous about the solo episodes, if you're a service provider, people are already paying you for coaching, consulting, programs, products, and services. Have confidence in that. Like you can't go out and charge somebody $2,500 for 6 weeks of coaching and then be like, but no one really would want to hear me talk on my own podcast. I'm like, no, like they want you. They're coming to learn from you. You are an expert. So let's level up that confidence. And every single person, I'm like, here's the great thing about podcasting. You don't have to live stream it, record it, send it to me. If I'm coaching with them, I'll give you the green light if need be. And then they put it out and they've never had more audience engagement. People are like, this is awesome. I didn't know that you knew all this. And you start putting out a string of weekly solo episodes like this, or just apply the 2/3 rule. All of a sudden people start reaching out. How do we work together? Discovery calls start lighting up, but you have to get out there and just test it. You have to be unafraid to, you can always go back and delete the episode if you wanted to. If it's so embarrassing and it just ruins your business, which it won't, you could delete it if you wanted to. So that's the first hurdle we have to get over. And then people are like, well, what do I have to, how do I think of things to say? And I'm like, all right, let's again, not overthink this. So, let's say you're in the fitness industry and you've got some sort of like weight loss boot camp, or let's say like intermittent fasting boot camp product that you sell. Well, let's step back from that and go, you probably have 4 or 5 foundational principles that you teach inside of your course. Well, let's break down each one of those in a solo episode. And then people are like, well, I'm selling that. I'm like, but I don't care, because people will pay you for the implementation, the correct implementation. Like I teach everything that people pay me for on my podcast, but they pay me to help them implement it correctly. So if you're selling something, you can bring that in and create solo episodes out of that. And that's our content. And I think you should have 10 or 12 solo episodes that you do every single year, because people won't always go back in the Wayback Machine and listen. Like I've got 511 live episodes of Podcasting Business School. I don't expect Deirdre, when she first finds me, to go back, well, episode 1, let's start the journey. Like that's not going to happen. She'll probably start at 511 and work backwards, maybe the last 100 episodes, if she's really obsessed with it, the super fan. So there are repeatable topics that we need to put out there. So that helps a lot with solo episodes. Think of it like an audio course. If you have 10 modules of an audio course, what would you do? 10 minutes or less a lot of times for these solos. Mine tend to be 15 or 20 minutes, and we can definitely knock those out. They do not have to be as long as an interview. Do not hold your solo episodes to the length standard of a typical interview. That's kind of the finishing point on that one, I guess.
What you're saying is actually, even for me personally, there's such big unlocks because I think so many times we get held back by these, that voice in our head that's like, how am I going to talk for 30 minutes or 40 minutes or an hour on my own? How am I going to actually come up with an endless amount of content? But you're so right. Like if we can just step away, like remove ourselves, I think, from the equation, which I know sounds really counterintuitive, and just look at it from like, actually, what do people actually do and how do they actually listen to podcasts? It's so right that, we should just be repeating. And I've actually loved repeating things like and training and stuff that I used to never be able to do. That was a big blocker for me. I was like, I've already done this topic. I can't do it again. But I don't know what you found, Adam, but actually when I've done it again, it solidifies it even for me, even more so. People who might have heard it already, it's like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. I needed that refresher, right? And it helps anyone new who's listening as well.
Yes. And I don't necessarily advocate like take the old recording and re-air it. I like re-recording, adding a new flavor, a new spin, a new tip. You evolve. We all evolve with our frameworks and our foundational topics. But just like you said, people heard it once, but it wasn't the right time. And then now they heard it a second time, like, oh my God, this was the right time in my life to hear this. And again, we owe it to the new people that are just listening to our show. We can't expect them to go back to episode 242 and you've got 3,000 episodes. Like, oh, I've already covered this one. Go find it. Like that, we owe it to our audience. If we have the best stuff, you need to have kind of a greatest hits that we come back to every single year. And, like I said, 10 or 12 episodes is typically what I focus on with that.
Did you know that the Get More Clients from Your Content Summit 2024 is going live really, really soon, where you can learn from over 33 expert speakers on topics ranging from how to create content that sells, growing your audience, and leading that audience to buy. In fact, Adam Schaeuble is one of those experts, and this is what he had to say about it.
With this summit, I'm super fired up because as an online business owner that took 3 years to figure out how to monetize and make any meaningful income, with this summit, we're all learning about how to accelerate that process. You don't have to spend 3 years like me before you make your first $37. You're gonna be able to make meaningful income within weeks or even months by leveraging the assembled intelligence that Deirdre's put together here. So I'm really excited about that.
What are you waiting for? Join Adam and thousands of other entrepreneurs to get the resources you need to make 2025 your best year yet. Head over to capture.com/summit and get your free ticket now. Podcast. And we started talking about the concept of testimonials. And I think we all conceptually know, because even when you were talking about it, Adam, at the time, I'm like, I know how important testimonials are. But I needed you to look me through the virtual camera, through the camera, and be like, Teacher, start getting testimonials and use them on your podcast. So can you talk to us about the power of adding testimonial audios to the podcast?
Yeah, this is one of my favorite topics because I feel like testimonials are that like afterthought thing. Like, it's like, if you're an athlete and you play the game and then you're just tired and you just want to go eat food, and like, that's how we are. People pay us, we do a 6-week program, we produce an amazing result, and we're just tired. I just want to lay on the couch for a little bit. But the job is not complete until we collect a testimonial. And the testimonial helps us level up our expert positioning and sell more of that thing. Like, it's so, so important. So I don't consider a program complete until I collect a testimonial from somebody, and I will chase people down. And that is normal. Let me tell you, I hardly ever have somebody like, here's the link, would love for you to do this. And I give them a script and, and they're like, oh, 30 seconds later, I usually have to remind my clients that are produced, like, I'm helping these people make thousands of dollars, sometimes tens of thousands of dollars. And it takes me 6 tries to get them to record a 60-second testimonial. Like, I'm like, hate to be badgering you, but I would really like this testimonial. It takes 60 seconds. Just say the words, hit the button, say the words. And so that's normal. It is a little bit of a pain sometimes, but totally worth it. So earlier we talked about spending time, 7 hours hanging out, consuming our content. What if that 7-hour block was all consumed with 20-minute solo episodes? And with each solo episode, you include an audio testimonial. So then we start to talk about exposures. So instead of having 7-hour-long interviews where we have no expert positioning, we have 21 solo episodes where each one of those 21 has an individual testimonial as well. So they hear 21 testimonials, 21 examples of us talking on something that we're great at talking about, expert positioning. That experience of that 7 hours of hanging out together is totally different. That's why I see people convert over from being a listener to a client much faster in that 7 hours, because of adding testimonials, doing solo episodes, following my 2/3 content rule. It's just like rocket fuel for that conversion process.
So good. And for anyone who does have the All Access Pass, in the second session, we're really going to deep dive into like almost the anatomy of an episode that converts, and how sort of Adam kind of thinks about stitching the things together to get someone to become a client, whether that's, and maybe they're not a client yet, maybe they're just a lead somewhere. They're just, they're going somewhere in a bucket where Adam can then convert them, right? So we're going to talk about that in the deep dive session. But I do want to talk about right now so you kind of said, okay, great. So we already know for podcast first marketing, we need to be focusing on us as the expert. Okay, how do we create 2/3 of content from ourselves only? Okay, that's scary enough, but remove the fear and just do it. Adam's already told us how to come up with ideas, and really it's just like, as you said, 10 to 12 episodes in a year. And we're just going to like the topics, and we're not going to, as you said, like replay them, but they're going to be the same topics that we come back to over and over again, which makes it so much easier for us to not have to think about, well, what's else is new and exciting that we need to talk about. And then Adam's mentioned, and one of the most powerful things is actually adding testimonials. And actually in a deep dive session as well, Adam, let's go into how you actually do collect the testimonials, because I know that this can be scary for some people to actually do the ask and to be that quote unquote annoying person. Being like, please give a testimonial. So you're gonna show us how it is that you make the ask and, do it in a really cool way. But I want us to round out the podcast first marketing. And you mentioned that, the last part is really about creating this content campaign cycle. Can you talk about this?
Yes. And this concept it's basically like creating an audio funnel. All right. Which we all in the marketing world, we love funnels, we're putting the fun back in funnels with a little podcast content campaign cycle. So what I do is I go, okay, what is the next thing I want to promote? Is it a free workshop? Is it something I'm selling? Is it discovery calls? But usually it's like, okay, I'm doing a free workshop coming up, and that's 4 weeks away. So with a content campaign cycle, what we're going to do is look at the topic of that workshop. Let's say it is about social media marketing. So some sort of like social media marketing bootcamp thing that you're doing. Well, what I want to do is look at 3 to 5 weeks of content leading up to that. I want to marry the topic of my episodes with the topic of the workshop or the thing I'm selling, and go, okay, social media marketing. 1 week, let's talk about, each social media platform and what's working best, or something like that. Let's chop it up and really marry the content so that people listen to that episode. They're like, ooh, Instagram hacks I've never tried before. Let's listen to this episode. And then we're on there talking about, oh, this new workshop is coming up. So the earbuds and eyeballs are attracted to that audio. Then that exact ideal person who's an ideal fit for the workshop hears it and can lean into and sign up for that workshop. But I also will marry the testimonial, especially if it's a thing that I'm selling, like a paid boot camp. I've got testimonials, audio testimonials from people that have done that and gotten a result from it. So at the beginning of these episodes, it's like, here's an audio clip from somebody that's already done this and gotten a result. Here's a topic that's really attractive to somebody that's interested in this topic. Here's a workshop, or here's this paid thing that you need to go sign up for. So we marry all that together. And that's why I call it kind of a content campaign cycle. Like we're marrying the testimonial, the offer that we're directing to, and the content itself. It's all in alignment so that if you're interested in A, you're also be interested in B and C. And I like to do, if it's a free thing or something that I've launched more than once or something that's evergreen, I'll do like a 3-week cycle. If it's a brand new offer, especially a paid offer that I've never launched before, I'll extend that out to like 4 or 5 weeks of content where I marry it all together. So a little bit longer. And that can be a little bit intimidating. If that doesn't make sense, do a shorter one. Like some people are like, I just can't string it out that long and talk about the same sort of genre for 5 weeks. But for the most part, like again, if it's like an intermittent fasting thing, it could be like, a beginning tip for intermittent fasters, mistakes that people make during intermittent fasting, what to eat when you're, after you intermittent fast or whatever, kind of break things down a little bit. But I really love doing this. The best person that I see doing this in the world is Amy Porterfield. If you listen to Online Marketing Made Easy, she goes in more like 90-day cycles. She sells, 3-ish things per year. And you can tell if you really pay attention, like, okay, she's talking about similar things a lot and having even guests in on certain topics. You can see her leaning towards a thing. It's like, I know Digital Marketing Academy is going to be, Digital Course Academy is going to be launching soon because she's talking a lot about online courses and online businesses. And so you can see that coming. So yeah, that's what I look at when I talk about a content campaign cycle.
Okay, cool. And so for people who, let's say they don't do campaigns regularly. So, I mean, you work with a lot of service providers, and typically a lot of their funnel really is just like, come speak to me, come book a call type thing. So what's your advice for people who have more of like an evergreen call to action?
Okay, so what I like to do, if I'm not in an active campaign of like I'm pushing towards a free workshop or a thing that I'm selling, I always go with discovery call. So that's what I promote. And so there's no set campaign on that. It's kind of like the in-between campaign filler where in the intro and the outro, I'm talking about discovery calls. Like that's the main thing I'm pushing to. And that it's kind of boring. It works so freaking well when you marry this whole concept together. Like my main KPI that I track, key performance indicator, is how many discovery calls do I do every single month. If I do 15 or more discovery calls per month, I can guarantee I'm hitting all-time best sales months. And like, that's something that a lot of people downplay. They're like, oh, I want to promote a lead magnet. And you can definitely do that. And you can do content campaign cycles around lead magnets. I've got my podcast growth scorecard. I'll do a 3-episode series where I'm talking about podcast growth. I'll promote my scorecard for 3 weeks in a row. And that's a content campaign cycle that's evergreen. Like that's always available. So, and, again, talking about marrying it together, I go, okay, my podcast growth scorecard is a freebie that leads into my Download Growth Club, which is a paid offer, a membership. So I'm going to take testimonials from my Download Growth Club members, stick it at the beginning of the episodes when I'm talking about podcast growth, and then advertising the podcast growth scorecard. So again, it all marries up. And it's easy to come together with like a 3-week content campaign for something like that that's evergreen.
So awesome. Okay, well, that segues really nicely into actually the podcast growth scorecard, because that's the freebie that you have for everyone attending this summit. So can you tell us a little bit about the scorecard?
Yes. So a big pain point in podcasting that I see is we get in our heads about podcast marketing. We spin our wheels a lot. We do a lot of effort. But here's my favorite quote of all time, and I'll try not to mess this up. It's called Pearson's Law. What is measured improves. What is measured and reported improves more rapidly. That's Pearson's Law. So with this scorecard, we start by measuring, right, and gamifying podcast marketing. And this marries so well with CapShow. Like I got to just, share my love for CapShow because it fits so nicely with this whole methodology. So with my podcast growth scorecard, you are rewarded points for marketing your podcast. You get 5 points when you release a new podcast episode. 5 points. Awesome. You create a carousel post, 3 points. You do an ad on, a Facebook ad or an Instagram ad, 3 points per day. You go live on social media, 3 points for each live. So it's each different way. You release a video, you release a reel, 3 points per reel. You guest on someone else's podcast, 5 points. So I gamify all the things we know we're supposed to be doing. And then I go, all right, listen, if you can score 40 points a week on this card, I guarantee you'll see your downloads go up. Because I've had so many people go through this, and I've seen so many people. I've got the data that's like, if you can cross the 40 point per week threshold, everybody's numbers go up because you're effectively marketing your podcast. And it's just a Google sheet. It's totally free. And it's something that, like I said, it's worked. Like, it's so good that I make all my paying members use it also. I'm like, you have to use it. If you pay me, you have to use this. There's no option. Like it's that good. So yeah, I gamified podcast marketing, and it works extremely well. And I see people, 10x their downloads off this freebie scorecard. And they tell me, I get the emails all the time. I'm like, wow, I went from this to this. And it's just because I got organized with this scorecard system. So yeah, check it out. I'd love to hear your results.
Yes, get it. I mean, anyone on here, we all want to grow our audience, right? Is that okay? Is that okay to say we all want to grow our audience? We all want to make money. So if you want to do that, just get in on this podcast growth scorecard and start doing the things, right? Like I love learning and I love speaking to people like Adam because he just knows his stuff. But at the end of the day, we have to actually implement. And, what he's offering here for free, by the way, is going to actually help us really easily implement what we need to grow our audience. So thank you for offering that, Adam, for everyone. So we'll leave the link with that in down below somewhere. Okay, cool. So if you are an all access pass ticket holder, then just hang on to your seat/hat. I don't know what the saying is. I always muck up sayings, but I think you have to hang on to something because Adam is going to do a deep dive on the anatomy of a podcast episode that actually converts. So he's going to take a step by step. Like, this is how you put it together. This is, how you lead from one thing to the next so that you actually can not only increase retention of listeners, but also actually get them doing the action that you want them to take. So we're going to deep dive into that. And as a bonus, I want him to also talk a little bit about how he actually asks for those testimonials. All access pass holders, you're in luck. We're going to be going into that. And for everyone else, thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you on the next session. Bye.
Wow, what a session. Huge thanks to Adam Schaeuble for breaking down his podcast first marketing strategy. It's time to stop playing small and start turning your podcast into clients, wouldn't you say? Check out the links in the show notes to connect and learn more from Adam. And if you want even more of this goodness on learning about creating an offer and content for that offer, growing your audience and converting them into clients, then you'll want to join us at the Get More Clients from Your Content Summit. You can register at capshow.com/summit. My name is Deidre Shen, and as always, stay intelligently lazy.